To be or not?
Not to be.
Now, obviously, because I'm so predictable, this week's post was a mashup of several things, including Mr. William Shakespeare's Hamlet soliloquy, to be or not to be.
Try this. To be or not to be.
Classic. To be's or not to be's. See what I did there?
From be, to be, to be.
Now first, let's get this out of the way. This is obviously a suspend your disbelief thing, because bees don't do soliloquies. They do soliloquies. Sorry, there might be some puns. Don't be so snobby. Hamlet.
To be
Or not.
To be? That is the question.
It's a Billy Shakespeare play. The most accessible of all his works. About a dude who, loves his mum so much that he's willing to, kill his uncle who, just whipped in there 2 months after his dad died, married his mum. And, Hamlet thought, this is a bit fishy. Also, during the course of this play, he has a chat with a skull in a graveyard. As I said, plots revenge. I don't know, some other stuff that's foul and kind of sketchy that's happening in Denmark.
To be or not to be stuff.
Back in the day. It ain't real. It's a play. Spoiler alert, everyone dies. Which, everyone dying, that's a nice lead into a story that is about a drone bee. Now we're at the part where we talk about bees. Bees! Wonderful bees! If you know anything about drones, you know that they do the thing that they do.
Drones?
And promptly die. Drones are born, they eat, they mate. It's literally their one job.
Elaborate, please.
Through the act of mating, if a queen should happen to fly on through the DCA, which is the drone congregation area,
A queen bee with her pick of the drones.
the drone will mate, and after the act, his endophallus, his appendage, will be ripped. Sorry, that I sound a little too happy about that. Will be ripped from his body, and he will fall ever so gracefully to the ground and die. Probably dead before he hits the ground, actually. And hey, let's just say he hasn't had a chance to mate. Come winter, he gets kicked out of the hive because he's considered a drain on resources. Kicked out into the cold and harsh winter to, guess what? Die. Oh, poor man. Hence the whole premise of this week's post, which was a drone requesting worker status because, we are all workers! He just felt he had more to offer the hive than being a general layabout, because drones are layabouts. We will get to that. But that doesn't really answer the question as to why I was writing about bees at all. Why I was thinking about drones, why I was thinking about workers. Thinking bee! Why I was thinking about queen bees. It's because I watched a video that showed that bees were good at maths.
But what now? Bees can count? Well, it seems they can, especially lower numbers.
You know I hate maths, but it caught my eye because if bees can do it, why can't I? Here's the scoop. Bees are capable of sharing knowledge with the rest of the hive. So let's say they're looking for a new home. A scout will go out, find a new spot, say, this looks good. I'm going to go tell the rest of the hive. So a bee flies back, gets in the hive. How does it communicate that a new home has been found? Answer is, does a little interpretive dance, a little wiggle. Do you believe? Shakes a butt. The video I was watching was a Zay Frank video where he described this as the Morse code of twerking, which I adored. Approved. Now the direction that they're doing this dance corresponds to the direction of the new location they've found. And the number of times they shake their bootay corresponds
reluctantly crouched at the starting line
to the distance. It's roughly 1,000 metres for every second of shaking. Isn't that fascinating? Yes, bees can count. Go watch that video, link in description. So we've got bees and we've got counting. And this idea of counting, I'm counting the beat, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what caught my interest, because there's not so much, okay, they're counting in a mathematical way, but there's also the interpretation of counting as meaning you mean something, you matter. So we have a drone who, is limited in what he actually contributes to the hive,
You had one job.
wondering if what he does counts in the great grand scheme of things. He doesn't realise how important he is. So he sends a request to the Queen asking to become a worker bee.
Worker bees are all female.
Mentions how he's pretty good at math. He counts. And there we have our double meaning. Ultimately, the piece is about having a role, and maybe you don't realise the importance of that role, but every role matters. A drone, yes, a drain on the hive. He can't even feed himself. Fed by worker bees. He can't collect pollen. He can't make honey. Drones don't even have stingers, so they can't defend shit. When he's old enough, he'll go hang out in the DCA, which is the drone congregation area.
Bees, bees, bees.
Just hovering about up there, waiting for the off chance that a queen on one of her mating runs will fly through that zone and he'll have the opportunity to get with her. They mate, and as he demates, he is torn asunder. A long life. It just wasn't meant to be.
To be or that?
That is the question.
I'm sorry. You don't like that joke? That stings. Now, big picture. He, this drone, may feel, and this is just me anthropomorphizing a bee, but he may feel like he doesn't pull his weight.
You're just drones.
He may feel like he could be contributing more. But as the Queen answers in the end, "Yes, Queen," his life means something. He counts already. He counts for something, not actual counting. And the hive counts on him. His sperm, should they mate, offers genetic diversity, which is important for the continuation of the colony. You go, drone. Yes, a drone, spoiled from day one, a king baby.
It's a drone!
But they pay the price right at the end when they lose their beehive. Sorry, I'm just winging it over here. The bigger, more philosophical question is this. Let's take bees out of it.
I'm allergic to bees.
Do you ever feel like you don't count?
You don't count.
I'm not talking mathematics here. I can't count. That doesn't mean I don't count. What is your role? Is what you're doing helping you feel like you matter or count? Because I got to tell you, it may feel like it doesn't. What you do matters, even if it's only to yourself. Now, I'm not going to leave you on that note. Let's check in with the Prince of Denmark, old Hammy.
To be or not to be, that is the question.
Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. What a drama queen old Hammy was. The opening line of that soliloquy,
To be or not to be, that is
The question.
is amongst the most quoted line in English literature. Right up there with "He who smelt it, dealt it." Is that from literature? Actually, that's not from literature. Just threw that in there. It's a bit of comic relief. Wasn't even a bee pun. In the soliloquy itself, old Hamlet is addressing some dark thoughts, let's just say, about whether to suffer, to be, or to, maybe do something to allow you to not suffer, or not to be. I'm not going to get into it. It's a bit of a pisser. The other most oft-quoted section of Hamlet occurs in a graveyard and involves a skull, a court jester called Yorick,
Alas, poor Yorick.
who's dead bones, hence the skull.
Alas. Poor Yorick.
I knew him, Horatio. This image of holding the skull is an iconic image from Hamlet, and, who knows if this is a Mandela effect or not, is often merged in with the to be or not to be remembrance.
Indeed.
Or not to
But they occur in two separate parts of the play.
To be or not to be.
The Yorick thing,
To be or not to be.
Act 5. To be
Or not to be.
occurs in the nunnery. Nevertheless, I smashed the two together in my riveting header for the Post, which featured a bee addressing a skull. To be or not to be, poor Yorick. Horatio? Obtuse. I don't care. I prefer subtle. Believe that. Okay, that wasn't really a good joke. Sorry, I was being a bit of a mumblebee. To be or not to be has had quite an impact on the cultural landscape at large. It is riffed off in culture mercilessly. Check this out.
To swing or not to swing?
To be or not to be?
To be or not to be.
Is to be or not to be. Not both.
Be or not to be?
To be or not to be.
To be or not to be.
To be or not to be?
Not to be.
Well, I've just been, and now I'm gone. I'll see you next week. Oh, but have you ever performed the soliloquy? To be or not to be? Have you ever seen the play Hamlet? What about the film? Which film? Because, get this, there are 50 versions currently. Which is your favourite?
To be or not to be?
Tell me in the comments. I'll see you next week.